Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good. Okay, you remember how you wanted to do a YouTube video together?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay. So, designers like coffee, right? Or tea. I like tea. Anyway, the idea is we would set up 4 coffee dates with 4 Bay Area product designers and 2 of your friends, 2 of my friends, and we meet them at cafes and hang out and talk about design, what their process is like, what they care about, and yeah, I mean, it's just like a good way to meet new people and learn about new perspectives. So, are you in? Great. I'll give you more details later, but that's the general gist. Okay. Talk more soon. Bye for now. We got an idea. Hello, I'm Alexa. So today's the day. Chris and I have scheduled interviews with 4 awesome Bay Area product designers. I'm so pumped. Chris is on his way over right now. Our first interview is around 10 a.m., so we're right on schedule. And yeah, I'm just kind of setting this up before he gets here. There he is. Okay. Let's go. Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
How's it going?
Good.
All right, this is Chris. Do y'all remember him from the interview we did a couple months ago?
I want more designers to get into Twitter because I just find it's an awesome place for like fun design conversations.
What's our schedule look like for today?
Okay, so we've scheduled all of our designers one after another at different cafes. First we have Alexis, then it's gonna be Colby, and then Tianwei, and finally we have Chad. I think we're good to go on the scheduling. Is there anything else that we should do?
Yeah, let's hop on the computer and just make sure everything is scoped out.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And we should probably tell them to meet us outside of the cafes.
Yeah,
Let's do
so
that.
maybe just like
We'll message them.
message them really quickly. Okay. We're very close.
Yeah. Okay, so I messaged them. What equipment are we going to be bringing today?
Yeah, so I think we should keep it super casual.
Yep.
I have a selfie stick.
Oh my god.
So
Awesome.
this will be one thing. Oh, it's from YouTube actually. Look at that.
Nice.
I think we should just bring our phones.
Okay.
So we both have iPhones. I mean, we're gonna use a selfie stick for some of the shots, and then we're actually filming on a tripod that we're gonna use right now, or we're using to film too, yeah. You can
That
kinda
tripod.
see it in the reflection, yeah, exactly. And that's really it.
Yeah, light and
Yeah.
casual, coffee.
Exactly.
All right,
Yes.
sounds good. Do you have the 4 questions ready?
Yes. They're in this notebook here.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I think we should head out.
Yeah, let's go do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Look at this. I love the mission with like just beautiful
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We're going to go meet Alexis.
Yep.
At House Coffee. It's one of my favorite cafes in the Mission.
Cool.
I go there a lot to work. Have you ever been?
I don't actually know. I know that there's a lot of good cafes in the Mission and I never come this way.
I see her.
You see her?
Yeah. Oh my god. Good to see you. I love your hair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's still very bright.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yes. Yay. Okay, let's head in. I go here like, I've been here like a lot. It's a good spot. I actually filmed another vlog here before. Alexis Lucio. I usually start off interviews with, I like having the interviewees saying a quick thing about how we know each other. So, I don't know, maybe like we could start with that and then jump into who are you, what do you do, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay, so Alexa and I actually have a really great story of how we met. I had an internship between Stanford and Autodesk where we were researching creative spaces and how could we create creative spaces that were for people of all ages and like maximum collaboration, et cetera, et cetera. So I was tasked with user research and I ended up interviewing a friend who I'd gone to high school with who was at UC Berkeley. I asked for recommendations. He said, oh, talk to my classmate Elizabeth. Elizabeth's great. When I talked to Elizabeth and I asked for recommendations, she goes, you have to talk to Alexa. So I was like, all right, like, let me talk to Alexa. And we ended up meeting at a cafe in the Mission, Blue Fig, right?
Oh yeah, and we're going there next.
Oh nice,
actually.
yeah. So we talked for an hour, and then once we turned off the interview, like tape or microphone, whatever it's called, we talked for another hour after, just about like everything else, and we instantly clicked, and that was 3 years ago, I think.
Really?
So it's been so long.
Yeah, we were just like, we should be friends.
Yeah, we're like, there's no way we can't be friends.
Yeah, I've done an interview with Elizabeth Lynn. And then honestly, like after that, I think we randomly ran into each other.
Yeah, we have a lot of
times.
mutual friends. It's so weird.
Yeah, so that's just kind of fun, like full circle moment. So she's already on the channel. So what are you doing now?
Yes.
What are you up to?
So I spend most of my day as a user experience designer for a company called Splunk. And how I like to explain it is think of us as like a huge funnel for all of your data. So if you think about if you're in a large company, you have a lot of computers and machines, and all of those machines are running machine data, and it's hard for you to, synthesize, aggregate, see everything all in one place, and then, perform search functions on it, create visualizations, dashboards, make data-driven decisions. So we do all that and more, but that's it in a nutshell.
Nice. And then have you thought much about why you do what you do?
Ooh. I mean, the way I see it, and I always tell people I feel really grateful that I love being a designer, and I was able to find this so early in my career because I didn't know about design until my sophomore year of college, and I was like, what do I have to do to be a designer? But for me, it's all about helping people. Like, I love, making connections with people, even if I never see them, to be able to understand what are their pain points, what are their challenges, and deliver a solution that works for them and that can make them happier or more efficient, or, depending on what it is. Like, it's such a great way to solve problems, and it's so complex when you think about how many moving pieces there are, and the fact that it is a still very collaborative industry.
Awesome. I love it. It's so cool. What are your strengths as a designer?
Ooh, so I'm gonna say the one that most people say about me, but it is unique in of itself. My longest job that I spent as a designer was the first and only product designer for 1.5 years at this startup. So for me, a lot of it was having a manager who was a front-end engineer, then having a manager who was a product manager, and then having a manager who was a designer. And with that, I feel like I understand the language of design very well. How do I translate it for a marketer versus a product manager versus an engineer versus a stakeholder? What are the words that they need to hear in order to, get buy-in? What do I need to say in order to, advocate for user experience? Because everyone at the end of the day is looking out for themselves. So I need to be that translator and think of what everyone's goals are and then mold the design to that. So I call myself like a design whisperer sometimes, but like just being able to talk to different people, because I feel like we forget that, yes, our end user, like that is our first and foremost person that we have to satisfy. But if we don't check all the boxes from all the other departments, our design never makes it to fruition.
How long do you think it took you to really develop those skills to a point where you felt comfortable, like saying that that's a strength?
Yikes. Probably 2 years, which is about where I was at the company. And I was fortunate and unfortunate that I had to be thrown into the fire many of those times in order to really learn about that. If one day you're making a BRD, and one day you're doing HTML and CSS, and then another you have to give a presentation about this new idea, and like, why should you as a designer have 3 engineers working on it to like the CTO? And it's such an interesting conversation, but like you have to think about it that way. Like, I tell folks that, like, half of my job is actually creating good design and half of my job is defending good design. So for me, I'm working a lot on like the defending and advocating and just making sure that this is something that can be pushed out.
So what specific design skills would you say that you're working on right now?
Yeah, so I always try and break it up into the technical and the non-technical. So from the technical perspective, I want to be a better interaction designer. So I've been working a lot on trying to judge tools like Framer and Principle and just getting something that I can give to an engineer and they're like, oh yeah, totally got it. As opposed to being like, all right, so here are my 20 papers of like, and this is a flip book of how the interaction works. From a non-technical perspective, I'm trying to work a little more on my emotional intelligence. So a lot of just like EQ, trying to read a room. I went to a diversity panel at Intercom at SFDW last year, and there was a really great woman who said, you know, sit down and shut the up. And I think, you know, in our current society where there's so much hypersensitivity around like media and going fast and being efficient, doing everything, like that's a really hard thing to do. So for me, it's like, okay, don't answer the questions right away. Do you have an answer? What is it that they're really trying to say? Or if someone's, you know, upset on a project, like trying to be like, all right, like what is the problem? Who's at fault? Do we have an actionable solution to it?
Have you thought much about what the difference could be between art and design?
Yeah, so it's actually something I think about a lot. I volunteer for a nonprofit called Interact Project, and our job is to teach and expose underserved Latinx and Black middle schoolers to design. And then if they're interested in a career in design, we kind of build this path for them through high school and into career placement. But always in our first class of whatever like long-term class we're teaching, we talk about art versus design. So for me, art is an expression of an individual for the individual. And I think about it as like just like this creative mass that's there put out in the world to spark a conversation. While design for me is, to quote Mike Monteiro, a problem with constraints. So it is your personal project for someone else that solves a problem.
That was awesome. Do you have any resources, things for our audience that they could use to learn more about product design and user experience design, or just have some form of like inspiration?
Ooh. I am actually pretty guilty of not going online for inspiration. I encourage people to go out into the world. Like I am a Latin dancer. Like I love going to see theater, or I minored in theater too, but like just going and seeing things that are completely different from what you do for your day-to-day basis, because that's where your mind's relaxed. That's where you're not necessarily trying to fit like the square peg into the round hole, but you can see something and be like, wait, like I love concerts. I take so many pictures at concerts. I'm that person, I'm sorry. But I'll go back and be like, that color palette is really interesting. Or why did they do that video clip to this part of the song? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of refills my, you know, creative fuel tank in a way that when I come back to work, I'm like, oh, what if I used that color palette? Or I like the way that like the shape of that dancer was in this performance. What if I incorporated that shape into this art piece? So
Cool.
go outside is what I'm trying to tell you.
Let's cheers to that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Much.
Yeah. Before we wrap things up, is there anywhere that people can find you online if they want to follow you and your work?
Yeah, so I have a Twitter account that I'm trying to upkeep a little more, so you can follow me at Alexis X Lucio. I've got a portfolio. I think that's about it. You probably see like random dance videos of me, but like I am always available for conversation. I'm trying to do a lot more advocacy for diversity in terms of who we are as people. Like we talk about, we want designers of different experience and designers from different backgrounds, but that is also your ethnicity and where you were born and what was the unique combination of experiences that make you you. And can we have conversations around that? Because that's how we truly broaden our horizons. We just meet different people and hear their stories.
I love it. Thank you again for doing this interview.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, we're gonna keep drinking some tea and coffee, but
No problem.
that's it. Thanks.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so now we are headed to our next coffee meeting.
Colby, I think. Colby.
Yeah, we're meeting with Colby. Still on the mission, so we're going to a place called Blue Fig. And yeah, I thought that interview with Alexis was so great.
Yeah.
She's such an amazing person.
What was like one thing that was surprising or something that cool that you learned from her?
Oh gosh, I already know her so well, so I don't know if I like feel like I learned something new, but I just really loved, I especially loved her perspective on the difference between art and design, because I think I really resonate with that, and there's often some confusion about that because there's overlaps.
Yeah.
But ultimately, design is about other people, and so you have to remember that when you're building products.
Yeah.
Designing anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about you?
One thing I want to point out is I love that I feel like I haven't met many designers who focus on enterprise solutions and dashboards and data and that kind of stuff who are so in tune with like humanity and how what it means to live and be a designer like throughout life. And
Yeah.
I just felt like there was a lot of depth through her responses that I've never seen. It was
That's
great.
awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
Very good. It's actually kind of funny. We were telling her on our way out, oh, we're going to go meet up with our next designer. His name is Colby, and she was like, oh, I know him.
Oh yeah.
And so that was kind of funny. It's a small world.
Small San Francisco.
Yeah. Anyway. What's up?
This is Alexa.
Hi.
Hey, Alexa.
So nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this with us today. So we came outside because there's a loud group of girls in the back, and we're gonna try to film it out here, so hopefully it works. But Chris is looking up other options.
Can you guys help?
We need Rex. Favorite coffee shops in Mission? Quiet places?
Yes.
We need it now, though. Chris, what are you doing?
I am jerry-rigging a directional microphone reflector. I don't know how to describe that, but basically it's really loud outside and we need the microphone to point in one direction. So the cup is gonna go around the camera and it's not gonna work. So it's gonna be embarrassing.
You both gotta scoot over.
All right, let's actually scoot back a little bit.
Yeah, that too.
Oh,
But we're very close.
All right, so I'm here with Colby. We got some orange juice and I got some tea. Maybe to start, Colby, do you want to share how we know each other?
yeah. Chris and I met back in college at Olin. It's like a cool little like liberal arts college for engineering. Yeah, and then we just stayed in touch when I moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you share kind of what do you do?
So I do product design for a living. Outside of that, I just like live and exist and see people. Yeah.
Live and exist.
What do I do? Yeah.
And how did you make your way from an engineering school to being a designer?
Yeah, not many people like do that, but like I guess I took a few design courses in college, and I really like just like thinking about, you know, like who are we designing this for, who are we building it for, what's the impact going to be, what things do we need to consider, and then, you know, building it, testing it, learning from people, and then like, you know, refining it further. So it's just like a really fun like process of like iterating and like learning. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to do that professionally.
So you're a designer. Why do you do that? Why do you do what you do as a designer?
I think I really like solving puzzles. Like design is you get a bunch of requirements. People might come with even a solution, then you have to like dig into the solution more deeply, understand like what's the problem that they imagine, you know, how do they understand it, you know, how do other people see it. It's just like, it's like doing like news reporting, like understanding like what is the reality that we live in, and then figuring out like what do we do about that.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like taking these requirements or needs and translating that into something actionable and tangible for people.
Yeah.
What would you say are your strengths as a designer?
So it's gonna be like a huge cop out, but I think like picking up new skills. Like in one job, my boss really cared about research, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn about the best way to do qualitative research. I think in my most recent job, I've had to do a lot of like really high fidelity stuff in Sketch. You know, like I used to think before, like, you know, high fidelity visuals, like that's not really necessary if you have like a design system. But it's all about like the context, and if you don't have that, or if you have a client that like really only understands things in high fidelity, then you need to communicate. Because like at the end of the day, like what you're designing is not the actual product. What you're designing is documentation or communication tools to help advocate for an idea.
Right.
So it's all about like what level of fidelity is needed to communicate different details.
How do you feel like there was something in your past that helped you develop that as a strength to be able to adapt to different needs of the company?
I think at Olin, like the college we went to, we were always like thrown in the deep end. Like ModCon was modeling and control, which didn't mean anything to me at the time when I started. It was basically like learn how to like build circuits and, you know, put them together and debug it. And, you know, if you've never even like worked with like a resistor before, like how do you even know how to debug like a circuit? So you just like learn how to like figure out what things you understand and don't understand, ask people questions.
What are you learning right now? What design skill are you building right now?
I think like a specific like craft skill I'm learning is just like learning Framer, like getting the basics of it. I haven't gotten onto Framer X yet, but I hear it's awesome. I think that's just like how to prototype. So it's like a very like hard skill. I think a soft skill I'm trying to work on is how to talk about design decisions. Oftentimes like the people I'm working with are like PMs and like other engineers on my team, and they like understand the context of like, you know, how we got to where we are. But there's a whole nother challenge when you're doing consulting and need to explain to a client like how you did things for the past like week or like the past 2 weeks, because like they just like aren't there day to day. Like there's a lot more you got to build up and talk about, like, you know, the drawbacks of solutions or the benefits of certain solutions. Like you can't just like use designy terms like we did user testing. Like what does that mean to someone who doesn't do design? Like,
Yeah.
You got to talk about like what you wanted to learn and like how you learned that and how that informs the product decision. There's just a lot more you got to build up.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, even if you're not in an agency, even if you're working at a product company and you need to sell your designs and your design process to upper level management or different partner teams, I feel like it's such an important skill to build up.
Yeah. Like even if you're right, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not persuasive.
Right, if you're not persuasive,
Yeah, there's even a book called like I think Communicating Design. That one's really good.
Okay.
Another one is like Designing Together, and it talks about like conflict resolution as like healthy conflict, because that's like really valuable in a design process, like bringing people together and resolving that sort of misunderstanding or misalignment.
What would you say is the difference between art and design?
Yeah, I mean, I've never worked as like a fine artist, so I don't know what it's like, but I know that as a designer, there's like a lot of collaboration. Like your work will like survive or fail, with, you know, based on that. I think in design there are a lot of like outside constraints. When I make art at home, I mean, it's not for commercial, you know, for money, but I feel like it's just like whatever you want to do. Like it's very free. I think there's like a lot of value in constraints, in that they like help you to drive towards like something that has like impact. But you know, art can also have impact. You know, like political art, or like just like art that like liberates and excites people. Like
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's like
They're
a
definitely,
continuum.
it's a continuum, it's a Venn diagram, it's something. Yeah. How can people find you online if they want to follow you or whatever?
So I'm mostly on Medium. I publish articles here and there, like leave comments. I think you can just search Colby Sato. I'm not really on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I have like a dog, and he has an account called 808 Pomchi. And then there's also my account, which is Colby Sat. So Colby SAT.
Well, thank you so much for coming out here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right.
Yay.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
That was honestly a little chaotic. You know, when you do these types of things, you just don't know. Like, we're going to public spaces, basically. We don't know who's gonna be there, what type of environment's gonna be like.
Or
and
beep behind us.
yeah, like it's loud. And I mean, we're gonna go back to Blue Fig later after this next interview, but hopefully there's not a loud group of people there, because it's really lovely back there. It's very quiet usually.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're hoping that the footage turns out, but you just never know.
You know, I just realized something so stupid. We jerry-rigged this cup situation, but this could have worked.
Oh, that's funny. Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh well.
Anyways.
You live, you learn.
Yeah.
Etc. But anyway, I thought that was great. Colby's very Very cool person.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw him?
Yeah, last time I saw him was like maybe 6 months ago or so.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
And yeah, it's cool because like we both kind of came to San Francisco, I think around the same time, and like we were both getting into design as well at the same time. So it's been kind of cool to see each other's, you know, how we've progressed as designers, that kind of stuff.
Over the last like what, 3 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, by the time we post this, I'm sure Colby's avatar photo will be the same, but I was expecting a blonde person, and he was not. He had black hair.
Black hair.
So that was kind of fun.
No more bleach.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, okay, we're off. We're going to actually get lunch now.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go meet up with our next interviewee, Tianwei.
Long, busy day.
Yay, okay.
Yeah.